On the upcoming RotoWire Fantasy Baseball podcast, we'll talk about frustration with injuries, frustration about making pickups based on injuries, and also promotions too. It is Vinny Pasquantino time. It's his debut tonight. We'll talk about that and a whole lot more here on the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball podcast. Hey everybody, welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. Jeff Erickson here with Fred Zinkie. Fred, how are you? How's everything going for you on this fine day?
Good. I did want to let people know who comment on the doorknob behind me in my giant house that in the last month, a desk has been added to this room. I have been reluctant to use it. I feel like the doorknob in the background is kind of my thing now.
Yes.
So I've been sticking with it, but just so no one feels any pity for me, poor Fred having to sit on the floor, there is a desk 3 feet away from me right now. I am choosing not to sit at it. You got to keep your stick once you have it.
I just thought you had giant doors. That's all.
No giant doors in this house, and no small people either. Actually, just the perspective. See, these are the tricks we can play now with photography and video.
Yeah, very good. Yeah. Excellent there. And it eases the sting when we talk about not getting Vinny Pasquantino off of waiver wires. DJ Short from NBC Sports Edge beat both of us by mere minutes. Yesterday, the Royals announced the call-up right as my show on SiriusXM Fantasy was ending, right at 11 o'clock Pacific time. Todd Zoll and I didn't get a chance to comment. Now, I made a fatal mistake, Fred. Instead of rushing to the waiver wire, I rushed to Twitter first and made some sort of cryptic comment about how I didn't get to talk about it on the show. My bad, because I missed out on Pasquantino by like a minute or two tops.
I wasn't as close as you on that one. I was busy working and I was far away. But yes, this is what you did is what I always do. You go and do something different. You went to Twitter. I sometimes write something about one of these players, and then I try to circle back to pick them up in those types of leagues, and I never ever get them, including another player we're going to talk about soon. But Pasquantino, how excited would you have been to get him? Like, where are you valuing him in comparison, say, to other rookies who have come up this year? Like what are you expecting here?
Slightly behind Riley Green, because Riley Green can run.
Yeah.
But Pasquantino might be a better hitter right now. Although I think Green's pretty good. But honestly, because I missed out on Green everywhere, I really haven't tracked what he did after that opening weekend. I should probably actually weigh in on that a little bit more, see what he's actually doing. But Riley Green right now is hitting 250 with a 400 on base. That's pretty good, but doesn't have any extra base hits yet. So, we're still wanting a little bit more on him. I have him in labor. I should be a little bit more aware of what he's doing so far, but I'm just happy he's healthy in that league. That's where I'm at in that league. But my one hitter on my bench that's not on the IL is a guy that's been designated for assignment. I mean, I just haven't, and that's that's how bad my woes are. But Jonathan VR. Right. I'm just hoping he lands somewhere where they allow him to run. But we're running out of bad franchises for Jonathan VR to play for now.
There's a lot of bad franchises, so don't give up yet.
Come on, Oakland. Oakland, you want them. Let's go, Oakland.
Yeah, come on. I think the idea of getting VR and flipping them at the deadline is probably already passed, so this may not happen. With Pasquantino, a couple of comparisons I thought that I was going to ask you about. How would you value him right now in comparison to the two Cardinals rookies, Gorman and Yepez? Like, would you rather have Pasquantino? It seems like all three of those guys are going to play a fair amount the rest of the season. Like, they're all probably up to stay, I don't know if Gorman will totally play like against all lefties, but how would you rank those guys right now?
I think I'd go Gorman, Pasquantino, Yepez. Okay. Although Yepez put a pretty good rejoinder to me yesterday with his 2 homers. Now, a week and a half ago, Yepez was close to being a drop because he was going to be sent. There was a possibility he was going to be sent down to the minors. But then Tyler O'Neill got hurt. Now Harrison Bader got hurt. So playing time is no longer an issue for him. Because he went 4 days in a row without starting a week and a half ago. That's Dropsville. You can't carry a guy like that. And then the injuries happen. And now I feel like he's kind of carved out a way to stay on that lineup. But I actually chose Tyrone Taylor over Yepez and Fab bidding this past weekend when we're trying to replace Bryce Harper. We'll get to that in a moment. But yeah, and for one day, that decision looks pretty dumb.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how it all plays out. Yepez now has better numbers than Gorman, a higher OPS,
Right.
but like with those sample sizes, a 2-homer game last night, really changes things. I think Pasquantino has the possibility to be better than those guys. He is in a worse lineup. He's not in an awesome park to hit in. But he could still be better. Like like Gorman isn't playing against lefties, so I'll take Pasquantino. I'm going to put Gorman last in the group because he's not playing against lefties. Yepez, you're right, could end up at some point, could still end up being sent down. But he's a right-handed bat who's done his best work against righties, so I feel like they should want him in the lineup. If he's on the team, he could be in the lineup every day. That's a tough one. I don't want to get carried away with Pasquantino, but I might like him the best. The strikeout rates for him in the minors are quite good, and the walk rates are quite good. So
yeah,
I'm not going to count on him for any steals. He does steal the odd base. Like he already has 3 this year. If he could steal 4 or 5 bases the rest of the way, that would help. But I'm not going to count on that. So I think I might put Pasquantino first, which means that in Fab leagues on Sunday, if anyone's thinking along the same lines I am, some of it will depend on how he plays, obviously, from now till Sunday, but he could go for a fair amount. I'm going to say triple digits in a lot of leagues.
I think so too. I think, and that's why I made the Riley Green comparison, because his low bidding price was 147. Yeah. Now that was a couple weeks ago. People have less Fab available, and that's 2 less weeks of production too. I think he definitely goes triple digits, and I'd be surprised if he doesn't go for over 200 in at least a few leagues.
Yep.
Maybe not all of them in the main event, but at least a few. Compare him versus other first basemen. Would you rather have for the rest of the season Pasquantino or Rowdy Tellez, who's hitting 248, 13 homers, 45 RBI, and 27 runs?
Pasquantino.
Okay, that's strong. Okay, let's go a little higher then in terms of it. Jared Walsh hitting 260 with 13 homers, 40 RBI, 38 runs, and he actually has a stolen base too. 32 runs, excuse me. I was conflating 2 lines.
The 1 stolen base puts it over the top for me. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I'll take Jared Walsh. There's more of a track record with Jared Walsh than there is with Tellez, so I'll go with Jared Walsh.
Yeah. According to our earned auction dollar tool, Luis Arias is at that level. He's hitting 345. It's he's not going to be a counting stat guy, but 345. I mean, that's
crazy.
That's a huge impact on that batting average category, and that's with a lot of at bats now too.
Totally, and his BABIP's high. It's 364, but it's always high. His career BABIP's 344.
That's what he does.
So yeah, this is what he does. So if he doesn't hit 345 the rest of the year, he'll probably hit 320 or something like that. He's just a totally different. The last guys you compared Pasquantino to, I feel like are comparable because they're like first baseman. I think Pasquantino can maybe do a little better batting average than those guys, especially Tellez. Like, I don't know, like Arias is like his own entity. Like I've written about him a couple of times this year. Either you really need him or you really don't. Like either you really need that batting average on your team or you're doing well in batting average, in which case he's not really helping you much. But I would say overall, I think I'll take Arias. That's one definitely for the SGP in-season spreadsheet. Like where you throw in Arias at like 8 homers and 4 steals and 85 runs and 55 RBIs and put it in the high batting average and compare him to Jared Walsh at that point, maybe with 30 home runs but a low batting average, and see which one comes out as more valuable, because you're really in apples and oranges at that point.
Yeah, it really kind of depends on how are you doing on power in your league.
Yeah.
That's really where it goes from that. So fun stuff there. I have Bryce Harper in 2 big leagues. I have him in the main event and I have him in the XFL. Both leagues I was contending. I still am, but this is a devastating blow. We found out some news today that he could come back as early as 6 weeks. I know in the outline you said that he's a sure drop. Do you still feel that way? If you had my main event team, are you dropping him?
Yeah, probably. The 6 weeks. So when I wrote sure drop, I thought we were looking at surgery, and well, he is having surgery still, but I thought we were looking at more like early September for him to come back. And at that point, I said, like in an NFBC style format or a Yahoo format where all your IL spots are already jammed, unless you've been really, really lucky, I said, yeah, sure, drop 6 weeks. So we're talking like mid-August on the early end. I said Ozzie Albies was a drop. Bryce Harper's a little better than Ozzie Albies, but we are looking at now about the same return time, and that's the most that's the most optimistic return time for Harper, correct?
I think so.
Yeah.
Unless you've got the Royals training staff, then in which case he's back tomorrow.
Yeah,
but
yeah. I'm gonna still say a mostly drop. Like I guess if my if my bench didn't have many injuries, if you have a bench with like one other injured guy, then maybe I try to hold them unless the injuries start to mount. If you've got a bench with like 3 other injured guys already or 4, which I do on most of my teams, then I'd say I probably just have to drop them. What do you think?
So I have to make this decision. I have him in the main event. So far, we think he's a hold. You know,
he's really good. I'm not disputing that. A healthy Bryce Harper down the stretch would be really valuable.
We've been holding Eloy this whole time too, though, and that's what makes it really tough. Because you know, if Eloy comes back next week, then I think it gives us some cover, buys us some time, maybe to hold on to Harper. But if we find out, or maybe we just cut Eloy. I mean, I hate having to carry both though, like that.
Yeah, if for sure, like I know this doesn't help everyone, but like it for sure depends on your standings. And if you're looking at your team and you're thinking like, oh, if we could have Harper and Eloy down the stretch, and like we could make a run here in RBIs and home runs and runs scored. Although Eli's not a big run scored guy, but at least home runs and RBIs, and maybe that's exactly what our team needs. So okay, let's try to just tape and glue this thing together until we get Harper back, and then we'll try to make a run. And it definitely depends how many people you have already injured. It hasn't left my mind. We talked about this around the beginning of July last year when Phil Dussault dropped Jacob deGrom, right? When he was hurt. And Phil was like the first person to just go ahead and drop him. And now he ended up never coming back. So obviously Phil was right. There's no debate. But at the time, Phil didn't know that. And, and I believe his reasoning was that like a month from deGrom coming back from an injury, who knows how much length he'll have, whatever, that it just wasn't worth waiting for. He'd rather have the roster spot. So I've never forgotten that. Phil's obviously an amazing player. I've never forgotten that when trying to evaluate, these injured superstars. And that was a month. Maybe you get 6 weeks out of Harper, so maybe it's worth holding. Yeah, it's definitely, I think, standing specific.
Yeah.
That's we're holding bummer. Now he's the first off the top of my head, right? He's the first of the 2022 first rounders to be,
depending on where Mookie went in your league.
True. Yes, you're right. Yeah, him and Mookie, I guess, are the first, of the top 20 picks to miss so much time that they just.
Well, Albies is right there too.
Yeah, he was a little later, I thought, than Mookie. Maybe he wasn't actually. You're right. No, he wasn't. He was on my rankings. Albies was lower. I had him more as like a mid-second rounder. But you're right. He was getting pushed up a lot. I guess Harper's the earliest so far. I went before Harper in very many drafts. So Harper's the first of those. Like Bichette's been a little disappointing. Soto's definitely been disappointing. Vlad's been a little disappointing. But they're all healthy. They could all go on a tear at any time. Harper's the one where now like best case scenario from Harper, or at least reasonable scenario, is probably like if you get 20 homers from him this year.
Yeah.
Just with the injury, that's probably all you're going to get if you get 21, something like that. But you're going to get way, way, way less than expectation.
Yeah. And
so
luckily for us, we had drops, so we didn't need to drop them this week. And I still have one more drop on that roster. I'm sure I'll have more by the end of the week.
Those are all the nuances, right? And that matters so much. And it doesn't matter what your pitching matchups look like, and do you have are you comfortable with your staff next week? And we do have the All-Star break in there, right? If you can gut it out for a couple more weeks, if you like your pitching matchups next week, and you're thinking, I don't need to pick up anyone. I'm good with these 9 guys. I like their pitching I like who they're facing. My relievers are healthy. I don't need a lot of pitching on my bench. Maybe I can go thin on my bench through the All-Star break and then see what's going on with Harper. So that's another way you could manage this. Is I'm going to try to hold Harper to the All-Star break and then see if there's any reports on him and what the status of my team is.
Yep. I think that works. I think that's the way. He's all like, if I have 3 drops, he's my 3rd drop. I think that's the way I look at it too.
Yeah.
Because obviously that's the last guy I want to give up on. At least for me. Might work differently for others, and that's fine. Kenley Jansen went on the IL, and this is what we were kind of teasing at a little bit earlier. It's not just missing out on Vinny Pasquantino, it's missing out on Will Smith too. Yeah, at least in terms of the first come, first serve pickups. Had a regular heartbeat. There was a follow-up saying he might not be out very long. So it might not be that hurtful for you, Fred, that you did not get Will Smith, even if he is the guy for a week or two.
Yeah, for sure. With the Jansen issue, like I think this is one totally different than Harper, where it's even harder to put a timeline on it. Like maybe he just sits out the minimum, or maybe he's out for a really long time. Like I'm sure it'll just depend on follow-up and how he's doing. I picked the wrong time to go for a quick trip to Costco this morning.
Yeah.
When I got back from Costco, I saw the Jansen news. One of the first times ever, I immediately thought of Yahoo Friends and Family. I went straight to the waiver wire, and you beat me by 25 minutes to pick up Will Smith. I hate these rules where everyone's open all the time. I never get anyone, but that's okay. These are the rules. They are default Yahoo rules. I got to learn to succeed with them. I haven't done a very good job of that. So I didn't get Will Smith, who is far from their best reliever this year, 14 walks in 29 innings. However, I just think he's been so successful as their closer, or plenty successful. Like they just won the World Series with him as their closer. I think he just closes for a couple of weeks if Jansen's hurt. I know AJ Minter is better this year by a lot, but he's a lefty, and I just think Will Smith is their closer. I don't think they're using Jesse Chavez as their closer, even though he's been great this year. Well, not great. He's been good enough this year, arguably better than Smith. Colin McHugh's arguably been better than Smith. They could use him, I guess. I just feel like Smith gets the shot for a couple weeks, don't you? Well, you do. That's why you picked him up.
Yeah, I thought about him first. I'm wondering, did anybody pick up Mint? No, I don't think anybody else picked up, unless Minter is already rostered, which might be the case.
Probably is. Yeah.
This happens a lot, actually.
You could make a good argument that Will Smith is their fifth best reliever right now. But I don't think it matters. Like he's got the closer tag with the Braves successfully. So why not? If you need a short-term guy, like why try Jesse Chavez? Why try Colin McHugh? Although I know Colin McHugh could close, but why try him? Why not just use Will Smith, who just did it for you?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Minter's the guy that scares me. Right. That's the guy I'm worried about. Scott Pianowski has Minter, by the way, already.
Okay.
So there you go. In case you're wondering, if you could go scramble to pick him up while we were talking, you cannot. So there you go on that. And that's the thing about this league, is a pitcher like that is still rosterable, even if he isn't getting saves. Just with our innings cap and things of that nature.
So I'll give you a scenario. So let's say Smith is the guy. Like let's say he gets a save or two for the Braves this week, but the prognosis for Jansen isn't that he's going to be out for very long. How much is Will Smith worth on Sunday? I'd say not that much.
I'd agree.
Like
and
even
again,
if he needs saves, like if
you have to need saves.
He already missed a week of the IL stint.
Right. Exactly.
So I would say if I had Jansen, I may want Smith in case this issue creeps up again.
Yeah.
Right. I may want to. I'm not a handcuff relievers guy, but just because that heart issue, it's going to be hard to predict. I may want Jansen or Will Smith if I had Jansen.
Yeah. Will Smith is available in that league where I lost Harper. I also need saves in that league. So
right.
Yep. I'm putting in a little placeholder bid right now as we speak, just to remember to bid on him until Minter gets the save chance tonight, and then we can all have a good laugh. But right now, that's the way it's looking out there. So that's the thing is Snicker has a little bit of bandwidth too. I mean, he can do whatever he wants at this point in time. He's got super job security. He's got a lot of options. He can be a little asymmetrical with this. He doesn't even have to declare a closer.
He doesn't. I think not using Smith though sends kind of a negative message to him that like he's definitely not your guy anymore. Like everything was cool. I think like he was their closer. They won the World Series. They had a chance to get Jansen. He was gracious. He bumped down to a setup role so they could get Jansen. I think that's all good. If you don't even use him when Jansen's out, like let's say they went and used Colin McHugh as one career save, but he's like a really good reliever. Let's say they used him instead. I think that sends like a bit of a message to Smith that we don't really trust you anymore. And I don't think the Braves really need to do that right now.
Yeah, unless they're just saying, "Hey, we want you to pitch better." So
yeah, It's true. Hey, we've noticed that you haven't pitched as well as last year.
Yeah. Hey,
Yeah.
just having a chat. Let's have a chat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Could you pitch better? I don't know. We're spitballing ideas here. Could you pitch better than you've pitched so far? Yeah, he's definitely, his FIP's 507. Like, he's definitely been worse. Although last year he wasn't amazing, but definitely, well, he got 37 saves. Like, he did what they needed him to do. His FIP last year was 413. Like, he wasn't incredible, but he, like I say, he did what they needed him to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Other injury notes coming up, but first, a quick note from our sponsors on the Blue Wire network of podcasts. All right, Jazz Chisholm is back in the lineup for the Marlins today. If you had him, congratulations, he's coming back, and that's a big add for the Marlins just to get him back in that lineup. There, he's been out with a back injury, but he's only missed a couple of games at least. I don't have any Jazz in my life. I'm no syncopation for me.
No, same here, actually. And I'm obviously regretting that because it looks like he's going to be at least a 2020 player. Like, that's putting it very mildly. He could be a 30-25 player or something if things went well for him down the stretch. I don't think he'll quite get to there, but he'll be in that ballpark. So, yeah, he was a tough call for people who did have him this week. Like, they've already played. So either for at least Monday to Thursday in the NFBC leagues, you either went with him or you didn't. So there'll be some people maybe who'll be kicking themselves with him playing tonight, and some people who will be patting themselves on the back.
Exactly. News out of Minnesota. They won the first game of the doubleheader against the Guardians. Now they're going to get Jorge Polanco back from the IL. It's weird timing to do it in between games, but so be it.
Makes some sense though that, like, because I guess, like, it allows you some if you're bringing him back. He had no rehab assignment, so if you're bringing him back but you're totally not willing to have him play 2 games in one day on his first day back, then you have him play the second one.
Sure.
That gives you a little more roster freedom for the first one.
Yep. And someone else gets a day of service time because of that. So that's the way I could look at it.
Yep.
But I have him in AL Tout Wars. We do have a midweek activation possibility, so I'll be using that.
Yep.
Poor Charlie Culberson can go on his merry way. It won't hurt me to cut him. But check your league rules to see what happens. In the NFBC, you have to wait till Friday, but
I put him in some lineups, actually.
Did you?
Yeah, even knowing that he wasn't activated for Monday, and he hasn't been as good this year as I'd hoped, but I knew he could still get 3 games in. Now, whether he will or not, we'll see. He had the potential to get in 4 if they let him play twice today, but he's still, just because their schedule is so heavy in the first half, like, he could play today, tomorrow, and Thursday, and at least get 3 games, which is it was as good as anyone else that I was considering. And some of the guys I was considering only had 2 games from Monday to Thursday. So I just put him in and crossed my fingers that he wouldn't miss the whole time, because they were saying he was coming back.
Right.
But you know how we've been duped by that before.
Yes, we have.
Yeah.
Repeatedly. By the way, I think I misspoke. I think I said the Twins won the game. They lost. Okay. Emilio Pagan blew the game in the 8th. Remember in labor, we were talking about how we couldn't believe Pagan was on waivers?
Yep.
In that league?
Oh boy. Did I ever? That is not, I don't have him in my lineup this week. So I spent 5 of my $100 on him. He was terrible for a week. And then I benched him this week. So I didn't get the 0 outs, 2 runs allowed in this game. Yeah. Juan Duran is looking more and more appealing as the closer. He has their most recent save. And
Pagan pitched the 8th today. He came in to start the 8th inning.
Yeah.
Allowed Miles Straw to get on, walked Stephen Kwan, threw a wild pitch that was really actually a Gary Sanchez pass ball, but and then gave up a 2-run single to Ahmed Rosario with the infield in. The infield's out. If the infield at normal depth, it's probably a ground out, but still a run scores on that. So either way, he blows the lead, but instead he gives up 2 runs on that. Ends up being 3-2. And that's probably not going to be available for the nightcap now.
I think we're getting close to Duran just being their closer. Maybe the Twins won't do that because they just don't want to go there philosophically. But Pagan's really struggled lately. Duran just keeps doing his thing. He just recently got his 5th save of the season, 46-6 strikeout to walk. Like that, he seems awfully closer-like.
Yeah.
Highest average fastball velocity in the majors this year. I happened to notice that while writing something today.
That's good.
He seems awfully closer-like.
Stay healthy, please. That's all I ask.
Yeah.
And keep
I'm not sure how heavily I would invest in Dynasty. Also gets a ton of ground balls. Actually sounds a little like Emmanuel Clase. Shows who's against today. Throws hard, gets a lot of ground balls.
Last night's performances. Do you want to talk about the good or the bad? Which would you rather start with?
Let's start with the good. Let's be positive on a Tuesday. Let's start with the good.
All right. Sonny Gray didn't get many strikeouts, but 7 shutout innings. Pretty good outing for him. Also, Adam Wainwright, excellent outing against the Marlins. 7 shutout innings, 9 strikeouts from him. I actually had that pair going in a couple of different leagues.
Okay.
Guys, I tended to get them at their price a lot. Wainwright always seems to be like always underpriced.
Yeah, I had Wainwright last year in some leagues. This year I don't, and I just decided I didn't want to be left holding the bag this year. If he finally hit the wall, he has not hit the wall. He was someone who, for me, was either like once he got past April, I was going to move him way up my rankings. If he got past April successfully, which he did, then I'd be like, okay, we're in. I'm in for another year of Adam Wainwright. Unfortunately, I just was worried when I drafted him that that he wouldn't be anything near what he was last year, and he's not totally what he was last year. His whip's about 20 points higher, but other than that, his FIP's lower than last year. Like, he's been really good. He throws a lot of innings. I regret not having him. I would rather have him than Sonny Gray, I think, for the rest of the year. That's a tough one because Gray should get more strikeouts, although he hasn't really lately. But I think I would rather have Wainwright. Like I said, I think with Wainwright, I was worried he's going to hit the wall this year, maybe right from the get-go. But if he didn't hit the wall at the beginning of the year, then I was ready to buy right in.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'd rather have Wainwright, even though it costs more to get Gray earlier. Gray it seems to me like a much bigger injury risk.
Yes.
And, I think that spills over to his performance at times. Whereas I think Wainwright's just like a machine. Now, anybody, there's no such thing as a safe pitcher. At some point they all break again, or they all, and at some point, Wainwright's going to show his age. Might not be this year, though. We'll see. Plus, I think he's on a better team with a better defense behind him. I think I trust although the Twins aren't bad defensively.
They're okay. Yeah.
No, especially the left side of the infield, Urshela Correa is pretty darn good.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. And Buxton in the outfield, for sure.
When Buxton plays. Yeah. Buxton didn't start today's first game. So
right. Yeah. Jury's still out on Buxton. We'll be saying that in 2025. Jury's still out. We're not sure. He's showing some flashes.
Yeah.
With Gray, he's been good in ways. Like, his ERA is 2.17, his WHIP's 0.97. Those are both amazing. But last 4 starts, 4 strikeouts, 3 strikeouts, 4 strikeouts, 3 strikeouts. He's had some other starts earlier in the year where the strikeout rate wasn't great. He's not walking many batters. He's not giving up many home runs. So he's found a recipe for success. I'm pretty comfortable with Gray. I just feel like with Wainwright, I'm just in. Like, I think this is just another good we're just here for another good Wainwright season that I doubted, and a lot of people doubted because of his age. But here we go again. I don't see why he breaks down anytime soon. We're already at the end of June.
Yep.
Yeah.
Another great performance last night. The Dodgers decided to be kind to Chad Kuhl and not score any runs against him. He's not someone I expect. He's the least. Going on a limb, Jeff. I wasn't expecting that from Chad Kuhl. Okay, great. That's helpful. But Chad Kuhl, another ex-Pirate, doing better elsewhere. Is that possible?
Yeah. At what level of desperation would you have had to be at to start Chad Kuhl this week for 2 home starts, one against the Dodgers, one against the Diamondbacks? Like, I'm sure a few people started him because they thought, I have nothing to lose. My season's going south, whatever. This guy's been doing well this year. Kind of, why not? But I can't imagine this continuing. He basically has twice as many strikeouts and walks, which isn't very good. Right. And for someone who plays in a park that just generates so many base hits, and you're walking guys, and you're not getting strikeouts, I just don't see how this can continue. But
right, even after yesterday's complete game shutout, where he only allowed 3 hits and no walks is the big thing for him. He still got a 131 WHIP. Yeah. So you can tell he's been allowing copious base runners previously, but somehow those base runners haven't hurt. His ERA was sitting at 3.95 going into the start, and that's only because he had a bad start against the Marlins last time out. So gets knocked around by the Marlins in Miami, gives up 4 runs in 5 innings, 8 base runners. So of course, complete game shutout at Coors against the Dodgers because baseball.
Yeah. So an interesting thing when you break Cool down, and like obviously whenever you break down a Colorado pitcher, it starts by looking at his home road splits. He's been way better at home.
Hmm.
2.48 ERA, 4.39 on the road. 6 starts at home, 8 on the road. The difference is that the hit rate isn't too different, home and road. The difference is control's been way better at home. So he's
Which
only
makes no sense.
6 walks at home, 23 walks on the road.
Yeah.
So I don't really know why that is. Yeah, you're right. It doesn't make any sense. You'd think he'd be so scared of giving up base hits at Coors that he'd be nibbling and just trying not to let them put the ball in play. But anyways, that's the way it's been so far. He's had great control at home, and that has led to some home success. Now, none of that is enough to get me to pick up Chad Kuhl or use him in his next home start.
What if I told you Tyler Wells now has 6 wins, a 3.23 ERA, and a 1.03 WHIP?
I would not be surprised because I picked up Tyler Wells in a league a few weeks ago, streamed him, dropped him, and then have been kind of kicking myself ever since.
Yeah. Now he only went 5 innings yesterday, and that's kind of his thing. I don't think he's gone more than 6 in any given start all year. Yeah, 6 is the absolute max he's gone. But often he throws just 5, including his last 2 starts. But he's won 5 out of his last 6 starts now. He's on a roll. At one point he had a 4.41 ERA in the middle of May. It's now down to 3.23.
Yeah, he could be. I know people bring up that how much wins are annoying and how much wins are a fickle stat. They usually bring that up when a great pitcher has very few wins.
Sure.
But we can also bring it up in the other way. Like this is a guy who he has been limiting runs, but this is a guy who pitches for the Orioles. You would think that wins would be a problem for him, and he's been winning games like crazy and is ahead of all kinds of big name pitchers now in wins. And in that stretch, he picked up a win over a hot Boston team. He picked up a win over Toronto.
In Toronto.
Yeah, in Toronto. This one's on the road in Seattle, which isn't the worst or anything, but still, it's the opener of a series. Teams far away, and they jumped all over George Kirby. They hit 4 home runs off him last night. So yeah, it just goes to show how fickle wins are. He's been pitching really well, but he's also, if you look at the runs scored in the games that he's won, I've got a 10, a 6, a 10, a 7, and a 9. Like he's been getting obscene run support from an Orioles offense that isn't typically that good. But Wells been one of the more. He hasn't been great. His strikeout rate is so low, like it's 5.6 per 9 innings.
Right.
But he hasn't at least given up many runs. He hasn't given up more than 3 in a start since his first start of the season.
Well, I'll tell you the key for him is like just don't give up walks. He did have a 4 walk outing in the previous start, but it was against the Nats, so he got away with it. He gets a lot of good outfield defense. Cedric Mullins can pick it. Austin Hayes is a good defender. They can cover a lot of ground out in that outfield. So that's a big part of it. Santander's are actually pretty decent defensively too. Not on the same level as Hayes and Mullins, but still, that's a good outfield defense.
Yeah, for sure. And he is someone who gives up not a huge amount of fly balls, but more than the average pitcher. So he's relying on that outfield defense. Obviously, the home park probably helps him. The changes they made a little bit. I don't have the overlays in front of me, but probably has helped him a little bit. And he's been amazing at home. 220 ERA at home, 3.95 on the road. So he's been useful on the road. But that 3.95 includes last night, but useful on the road, but 220 at home. So he's been great at home. I was trying to decide if he's moved past, I think he's moved past streamer in 15 team leagues. In 12s, I think maybe in 12s, he's like a streamer, but you don't drop him. Like you try to keep him on your bench. In 15s, you're probably, unless your pitching staff's really great, you're probably mostly using him right now until he slows down.
Yeah, I think you are.
Yeah, even if it's only 3 strikeouts per start on average, I think you're still using him.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. It's just you can't afford too many guys like that. It's like when you have Kyle Hendricks, you're like, okay, I'm not going to get strikeouts from, or actually Adam Wainwright. Last night, notwithstanding, you're usually not getting too many strikeouts. You can't have a roster full of those guys, but 1 or maybe even 2 can be allowed.
Right.
It just puts you way behind in strikeouts. Last night, Lucas Giolito pitched well. 6 innings, 2 runs allowed, 6 Ks, 1 walk, no homers allowed. That's a pleasant change from his most recent outings.
For sure. And I'm not there yet on Lucas Giolito's fine now type bandwagon.
No,
I'm going to say if I had Giolito like in a daily league, that would be enough. Last night's enough to get me to start him in his next start. If I had sat him, if anyone sat him last night, I still say like, and I know you've talked to Todd Zola a few times about this, what if you miss the turnaround?
Mm-hmm.
If the turnaround's for real, I can have lots more starts from Giolito. Like he had given up 15 runs in his previous 2 starts. So if you sat him against LA, whatever, not the end of the world. You missed a good but not amazing start. He didn't get the win. Still gave up 2 runs. I'm not totally willing to say he's out of the woods, but this is his best start in. If you factor in everything, including base runners and everything,
Right.
this is his best start in like over a month. Yeah, and you could go back further than that.
Yeah, I don't like the idea of benching him in a weekly leagues move. Maybe for daily moves when you can want to see something, but hard to bench your guys. The guy that you took is maybe your first pitcher when he's got a 2-step, when he's not hurt.
Right.
I think I would have probably started him. I don't have him because his price went up. It's just he was crazy expensive by the time. Well, not crazy expensive. He was very close to last year's prices by the time main event season started. So
absolutely. I actually don't have any either. And there was just some other guys earlier in the round. It's also was draft position. I didn't have he was going a lot in the late third during most of draft season. I didn't have a lot of late picks. And then later he kind of jumped up and kind of joined like the Aaron Nola tier. And I liked Nola, for example, better. So I just don't have any Giolito. This wasn't some great foresight on my part. I was interested. I just don't have any.
Gotcha. Yeah. How about George Kirby? Got any George Kirby?
No. And I was kind of kicking myself at the beginning, and I don't know if I'm kicking myself now because I don't totally know where this is, excuse me, all going to go. Like he's giving up way too many home runs.
Yeah.
12 and 10 starts. But the strikeout to walk like 49-7.
Yeah, I think it still
really
plays. Good. I mean, I think the Mariners have been such a disappointment. That's part of it. I also think that they kind of limit his workload. 53 innings and 10 starts. I mean, some of that is, it's only 10 starts. It's not 12, not 13 because of that 6-man rotation. You're starting to see like the cumulative difference now kind of kick in a little bit.
Yeah, that could be part of it too. I mean, going in last night was terrible. Going into last night, he had thrown 6 shutout in his previous start against the A's. He had given up 2 runs in 6 innings against the Angels. The Red Sox start before that wasn't very good. The ones before that against Texas and Baltimore were. I think I'm willing to chalk up last night as just a rough outing for a rookie pitcher. He's someone who I would still be interested in, like in a trading league or something. Actually, that wouldn't be I don't think that'd be a terrible move in a trading league to maybe go and put out an offer for him today. See if his owner's frustrated because he gave up 4 home runs last night.
Yeah.
And in his ERA is now over 4. I'd be interested, especially if I needed strikeouts. Well, the strikeout rates can't be super high until he gets more innings, but I'm still interested. Yeah.
Pablo Lopez, not a good outing yesterday. After an amazing first month of the season, first like 6 weeks of the season, he's given us some of that back lately. I was lamenting not having any earlier on. So I can't, the fact that I was lamenting shows that I'm not going to take a victory lap now that I don't have him through these struggles. Because he's still, even with recent struggles, 298, 1084. So, I mean, 88 strikeouts too. See, notice the difference in strikeouts between he and Kirby. He's also had 15 starts. Kirby's had 10 starts. Lopez has had 15. I mean, that 6-man rotation really kind of hurts the value of these starters a lot.
Yeah, well, Kirby also didn't debut though. I think it was May 8th. So that's
true. What am I thinking? He got called up. That's right.
So he should probably be like at least 3, maybe 4 other starts. But yeah,
you're right. I'm sorry. I was thinking there from the beginning. I was off on that.
That's okay. With Lopez, I still think like if you look at his recent disappointing starts, the matchups, they aren't really, really hard, but they haven't been great. Like at St. Louis last night, like Cardinals hit pretty well. He had a bad start a little over a week ago at the Mets. It's not a bad park to pitch in, but the Mets have been a good lineup this year. He had a not great, not terrible start at Houston. Houston's a pretty good team. He had an okay start. He threw 7 innings, gave up 4 runs. That's not bad. It's 6 strikeouts against the Giants. I don't know. His matchups haven't been super easy lately. Sandwiched in all that is he has a 7 shutout innings in a home start. 7 with no earned runs in a home start against the Rockies. Yeah, I think I'm still into Lopez. And in fact, if the person who has Lopez is interested in selling and is a little panicked right now, I think I'm still in. I think he could have a run of maybe some better matchups than the Mets and the Cardinals and the Astros and could maybe turn this around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it makes me want to think, okay, let's go see who has Lopez in friends and family.
Yeah. Yeah. Not
The
me.
thing is, anybody who has him, you had to pay a pretty decent price. So I got to think that, you're probably not willing to trade, panic trade
Probably
him
need
last.
another bad start
Yeah.
before push that ERA into the threes because it was so low that even with these bad starts, that like he only allowed 1 run in his first 4 starts. So
Right.
that gets you off to a pretty ERA off to a pretty good start this season. So
Yep.
I think I need to see maybe probably at least one more bad start, and let's push that ERA up into the threes, and then maybe you could take a run at him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, I know what I did wrong on the Kirby conversation. I was conflating he and Logan Gilbert, who has 15 starts and also a very good pitcher. And I don't know why I
Love
just
Logan
got
Gilbert.
this goes back to last night. I'm watching the game. For some reason, I've got in my mind this is the guy that's established, got called up last year. No, Kirby got called up this year. Sorry, way my little mind works sometimes. No one really needs to know that, but I thought I'd just care enough to share. So that was another one. I did a little bit of a whoops with Martine Perez because after 2 innings, he was getting knocked around, gave up 4 runs, one on a dropped, not a drop fly ball, but a missed fly ball that was ruled a double. I mean, that led to 2 of those 4 earned runs, but he held on through 6 innings, got a W still. Still think the regression is going to kick in pretty hard on him. And I think I got lucky. And I have him in AL Towers. And that's the problem is the league where I have him, who am I going to, it's hard to take him out because it's hard to find starters that you can just leave in.
Yeah.
I did finally take Yusei Kikuchi out of my rotation though.
Yeah. That's fair. But if Perez just goes back to, which I don't know if he's going to, but if he just went back to being a pitcher with an ERA in the 4s, but someone who gobbles up like 6 innings a start,
that's still useful.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, in an AL only league for sure. You're not taking him out.
Yeah. Last night's a perfect example. 6 innings and 4 runs. Not great, but yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah. Perez is interesting. Like he's still not getting a ton of strikeouts, but he's getting way more ground balls. I think his ground ball rate's up about 10% year over year. That's really helped him. His walk rate's really good this year. That being said, he's given up a lot more walks lately. So his last 5 starts go 2-2-0-3-2. So that's something that if he could try to get that back down to more like 1 walk a start, I think that would make a big deal. He's only given up 2 homers all season. That's obviously quite lucky, but he's giving up a lot of ground balls. Ground balls are highly unlikely to turn into home runs. So that's so that he's helping himself in some ways. I think I thought Martine Perez was going to like fully turn into a pumpkin at some point at midnight, but now I think it could just, maybe I'll be wrong, but I think it could just be like a slow decline where his ERA is 2.22 right now. And it just maybe is 4 the rest of the way and just slowly declines, but the regression monster doesn't come for you all in 1 week.
Yeah, that could make sense.
Yeah.
Rest of the season, Martine Perez or Tyler Anderson?
I'll go. Oh, that's a tough one. Tyler Anderson because he pitches for the Dodgers.
Okay.
If you switch their teams, I'd go Martine Perez. So I worry about Tyler Anderson. I'm more worried. This is going to sound weird since I just picked Tyler Anderson. I'm more worried about Anderson, I think, than I am about Perez. Anderson's strikeout rate's been dropping off. But I just have way more faith in the Dodgers to kind of massage him through this and help him to figure out what he needs to do to at least be useful the rest of the way and not have him bottom out. And then I just think the win potential is higher. Although Perez, I think, will be on a different. The other thing with Perez I thought about quickly is he'll probably be on a different team in about 6 weeks. 4 weeks.
That could be good or bad. Yeah.
Could be good or bad. It'll be good in the sense of run support. Like the team he gets will probably be a lot better than the one he's leaving. At the same time, I just generally have a theory that I've said on here before, where if a guy's really excelling, playing over his head with a team, I usually just prefer to him to just stay there.
Yeah. That's
you get new team, new catcher, new pitching coach,
new defense.
Yes.
All that.
And
new ballpark.
Whatever's happening right now in Texas is mostly working for him. So I would rather just keep it there. By the way, on Tyler Anderson, I have so many shares of him. I benched them all last night.
Did you? I was going to ask you that.
It wasn't a horrible start, but it was pretty bad. We'll see how
10 hits and a walk and 4 runs over 6 innings. Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't so bad in the sense of if his second start this week is like 6 innings, 1 run and a win, then I'll wish I had started him because this game isn't like a total killer, but I did bench him. I think I benched him everywhere. I know I benched him everywhere I could. I think that ended up being everywhere, but I have him on, I don't even know, 6 or 7 teams, and I just couldn't. Noticing that he had been trending in the wrong direction a bit, that was it. Combine that with Coors, and that was enough for me.
Yeah. Here's
Yeah.
another question. Another potentially shaky 2-start starter this week. Ross Stripling tonight. It's 10-man head-to-head points league. Stripling's been pitching well, sometimes against good competition.
Mm-hmm.
I left him active in one of my leagues, and I'm very uncomfortable with it.
I left him active wherever I have him. Those were all, I think maybe one was a 12. They're mostly 15 team leagues. Like the question that we've got is 10-man points, head-to-head points. Because it's head-to-head points, without knowing like if there's an innings limit or a starts limit in that league,
Right.
I would be inclined to just use him because it's points. I think he'll
Yeah.
probably get you positive points if you're just looking to max out your points this week. I did leave him active in some roto leagues. Obviously, tonight's start is scary. He handled the Yankees. Oh, actually, he didn't handle the Yankees. We debated that one. He didn't do great against the Yankees. He did well against the White Sox. He did well against the Tigers. He did well against the Royals. None of those lineups and offense so far this year resemble the Red Sox. So we'll see tonight.
He didn't get killed against the Yankees. He just was short in that game.
He was. He gave up 7 base runners in 3 2/3, and that got him out of there early. But he only gave up 2 runs, so it wasn't. Yeah, he didn't kill you.
Yeah, I left him active. All 3 are in 15-team leagues, both main events in yogurt. Okay. So going to be a little scary tonight on that one there because it could be a disaster. And he gets a home start against the Rays, which theoretically will be better. In this particular question, you're limited to 12 starts a week, so that makes it a little tougher of a decision. Although if you think about it, 12 starts a week in a 9-man staff, unless you're going like 8-1, you're never going to run into that max too often.
Yeah, it depends. Yeah, it's 12 starts a week. If it's daily lineups and you can stream them daily, then stream pitchers daily, you might be able to get your 12 starts easier.
But might not. It's getting harder to find starts.
I know. Because you might be you might be shying away from Stripling to stream someone else who's really no better of an option than Stripling.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think I would probably go for it. But you can tell by the tone of both of our voices that we're a little nervous.
Yeah, we're definitely a little bit nervous there. Mm-hmm. Rookies, let's talk rest of the season. Bobby Witt Jr. or Julio Rodriguez?
I knew you were going to ask me this question. I wanted to ask you this question.
I know. That's why I had to get ahead of it.
Yeah, get ahead of it on me. Bobby Witt Jr. has been playing a lot better lately. Was kind of considered. I felt like, well, he was drafted much earlier. I think his power may be more legit. I'm going to go with Bobby Witt Jr.
Okay, I'm going to go Julio.
Oh, that's close. That is, as I said it, I was like, oh, you're giving up those steals, Fred. Don't do it. You're giving up those steals. Well,
they're both in bad ballparks to hit.
Yeah.
They're both in bad lineups. I think Seattle has the potential to be slightly better. Now that they have Carlos Santana, they're going to be huge. No, just kidding.
Bobby Witt Jr. hit no home runs in April. So when you see his 11 homer total, it's actually 6 in May, 5 in June. Like if
trust me, I know. I've got him
right.
in a couple places.
And his steals per month have gone 4, 3, 5. Like if he could be a 5 or 6 homer guy and a 4 steal guy the rest of the way, that profiles as like a 30 something homer, 20 to 25 steal guy. The rest that's like, so I think there's a scenario if those two guys finish the season strong. I don't know if they're first rounders next year, but they're second rounders.
That's where I was just going to go. Are they first? Yeah. Where do they go next year? And who goes first next year?
I think with it, unless Rodriguez just blows everyone away in steals, I'll say that Witt goes first next year.
Position helps.
Yep. And I do think that there will be the odd person out there who maybe does jump one of them into the first round. Just people getting aggressive in big contests and things like that. I don't think that would be really smart because usually the guys who do it year over year, like I just don't see me draft. For example, I just don't see me drafting one of those guys ahead of like Kyle Tucker next year, who's just this, like assuming he just keeps doing what he's doing so far this year. He just is showing us he's a great power speed threat. He's done it now for multiple years. I just don't see me after one good year jumping one of those guys ahead of him. So I feel like these guys are second rounders next year, but I think some people always get more aggressive on these guys. That happened with Wander Franco this year than I expect. So I bet I could see them if they finish strong going in the first round.
Yeah, but I mean, Witt's got all the, they both have the fantasy stats, not just like the good ball player stats.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. That's the thing, is they're both perfectly suited for fantasy. They're perfect, like, power speed mix guys. So it's just that when I compare them to someone like Kyle Tucker, who's probably going to finish this year with 30 homers and 20 something steals, and will have like a career OPS, like over 850. I don't know. There's just a lot more safety there than Rodriguez or Witt in a sophomore season on a team without, maybe we'll see, but maybe without.
You're not going to get them then, I don't think.
I know. Do you think they're going to go in the first round next year?
Yeah, I do.
Wow.
Julio Rodriguez is already worth, like, using our option value tool. It's because of the stolen bases, obviously, but he's already worth 30 and Tucker's worth 29.
Yeah.
According to the settings I put in, so that might have something to do with it. Witt's worth 24, so maybe, but I think Witt's going to get there though. I think he's going to get in the same range. So and you get short and third base eligibility next year. Yep.
Yeah, but in the first round, though, I'm more thinking about just the player I want to anchor my team, maybe more than the eligibility.
Mm-hmm.
The question with let's say that at the end of the year, Rodriguez, Witt, and Kyle Tucker all have the same earned auction value on your calculator.
Mm-hmm.
So you take Tucker next year because he's the guy who's done it for multiple years and is like right in the prime of his career and is probably more bankable, higher floor, right? Like he'll be 26 next year, like right in the prime. Or do you take Rodriguez or Witt on the premise that they're like in their early 20s and could go up like another level next year?
They might even let Tucker hit ahead of Brantley next year. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe.
Brantley just went on the IL, by the way.
I keep thinking at one point Kyle Tucker just becomes like the Astros, like number 2 or 3 or something hitter forever, but never happens.
It might happen now. This might be the impetus.
Yeah, it might. I don't know. Dusty's pretty old school. We'll see.
Yeah. Adley Rutschman heating up, by the way. How quickly how much does he rise? How early are you taking him next year?
I'm still, so with Rutschman, next year was when I said you want to get him. I was like, just leave him this year. Let other people deal with these ups and downs this year. I'd say for the rest of this year, I'm still not super excited about him. Like I mentioned Alejandro Kirk in our preview, in our write-up. I think I'd still much rather have Kirk, even though, before
he hits
the year,
the crap out of the ball, doesn't he? Oh.
He does. Yeah. Before the year, people were taking Rutschman earlier.
Sure.
And now Rutschman's starting to heat up, but I'm out. I would, for example, just if we're comparing, for example, young catchers, how about Rutschman or MJ Melendez for the rest of the year?
Rutschman.
Even though Melendez now is, well, I guess actually the playing time doesn't really matter. They both have lots of playing time. Melendez, hasn't been better. Melendez walks a lot, which is nice. I'm not as like quick to say Rutschman as you are. He has hit some home runs recently, and that's great.
I just think you factor in pedigree. He's had the same slow start as Witt and Julio, but he doesn't run. That's the one thing that holds him back, but it's not like you're comparing him versus other catchers. So I'm pretty confident Rutschman's going to get there. And, he's not going to show up well in any earned dollar value tool because he started so much later than everybody else. So he can't compete in counting stats, but he's going to eclipse all these guys. He's going to be, I think he's going to be the third catcher taken in drafts behind Smith and Real Muto next year. Maybe.
Wow.
I think Kirk might be higher too. Who knows? But he's going to be in that clash.
Sal Perez.
Dude, we'll see when he comes back from this thumb injury, but this can often have a long lasting effect. And that's the thing that worries me.
Yeah, no, it definitely could. Yeah. Oh, Dalton Varshall. There's another one. Like just that power speed mix with him.
Well, and Contreras has actually out earned all of them. So,
okay. So actually, we probably got to knock him out a few spots. Just Dalton Varshall will probably finish the season with 8 to 10 steals. That's worth. If he finishes the season with 20 homers and 8 to 10 steals, those extra 8 to 10 steals are worth a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Good enough. We can dive into more catchers later, but I think we covered enough here. Anything else you want to talk about before we sign off?
Let me take a quick look here. Paul Goldschmidt keeps rolling.
Yep.
Nothing. He's up to number 2. I don't know what he is on your earned auction value
2.
calculator.
Yep.
But
Just barely behind Judge.
Yeah, isn't that incredible? Age 34.
Yep.
And he's up to 2. Yeah, that one. Yeah, I am just really impressed with. I have no shares and disappointed in that. Couple quick notes. Harrison Bader's went on the IL. I would keep him. Jack Flaherty is on the IL. I'm willing to drop him in some leagues. Agreed?
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
That's a relapse of a shoulder. Can't be good.
Aroldis Chapman's coming back. He's pitching tonight, so probably coming back Thursday.
Take your
we
time.
will finally start to get our answer of who the Yankees closer is going to be. I don't think we'll get it this week, because if Clay Holmes gets the first save, then I'm still not saying that Clay Holmes is the closer. If Chapman got the first save, I'd say I'm still of the mindset that Chapman's going to get save chances, and if he converts them, he's going to get a lot of them. I still think that that's their optimal bullpen, is getting him right and having him close and using Clay Holmes all over the place.
Begrudgingly agree, but I want Holmes to get the job.
Yeah, I know. We're both siding with our fantasy interests right now.
Yeah, so, for sure.
Yeah, and to show that everyone is tradable, someone traded for Carlos Santana.
Yeah, pay attention to what Santana's been doing.
He's been better. Yeah, he's been better.
Yeah.
So,
Brad Johnson asks, what do the Jays do when Danny Jansen's returned?
Trade him.
Yeah, but you have to play him so you can trade him. That's the problem.
Yeah, they could play him for like a week or two. Like Danny Jansen's been hit really well in the second half. He hit really well in really small samples.
Kirk already DHs a lot anyhow.
So they could easily just keep all 3. The Jays don't have a real DH. They could easily keep all 3 and just one of them DHs and one of them catches on any given day, and one's on the bench. That would be not a problem at all. But I think if Moreno's still holding, if Moreno's not hitting well, Moreno goes down and it just doesn't come back until September next year, and it's just Jansen and Kirk. But I think Moreno's going to hit well enough. I think the Jays need pitching and they need trade chips. Maybe Jansen could be that trade chip, not for like an amazing pitcher, but I think he could be a trade chip for them.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, I see. There's teams I think that Danny Jansen could really help. There might even be. I haven't really scoured them all, but someone mentioned Seattle. Oh, it was Rob Silver on Twitter mentioned Seattle as a team that's like makes a lot of trades and is kind of trying to compete. Yeah.
I can see it.
Yeah,
I can see it. Okay, I think that's going to wrap up today's pod. Coming up tomorrow, we've got the Prospect Podcast with James Anderson. Thursday, I've got Tristan Cockroft from ESPN joining me. So excited about that one. As always, we're happy that you guys came along for the ride. Thanks for joining us at our new time for at least this week and maybe next week. But we're going to keep you guessing, keep you on your toes a little bit there. Thanks everyone for listening. Have a great day.